Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of the Fishing Teacher, and thank you very much for making a little time out of your day to watch the video. It's always much appreciated. Guys, today we're going to be talking about these little zero crankbaits. So they call them sort of subsurface zero crankbaits that are designed to run less than a foot deep. They're really good in the summertime of the month. So I'm going to give you guys some good little seminar on these things because, man, they'll catch some really good fish, and it's a super exciting way to fish. Real quick, guys, just want to give you the weekly reminder about our Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns. You guys hear me talk about it a lot. If you're struggling to catch fish on your favorite lake, check them out. I'll put the Fish the Moment lake map breakdown in the description. That gives you 40 good GPS waypoints to begin your search with that you can duplicate, tips and advice to fish each area. And you can also book a lesson with me virtually if the lake you fish is not on our website. So I'll put that link in the description. That's appreciated. Okay guys, here is one of my favorite ways to fish in the summertime, these little bitty subsurface baits. This is a Man's Baby 1 Minus here, and this is a Megabass MR Griffin. And you can see, look, if you take a look at the lips on the things here, they're really tiny little lips on the things. Now, these things are designed to run subsurface, just underneath the surface of the water. And you can't, even if you try, you can't get them down much over 12 inches. That's just the max they're designed to run at on purpose here. Now, the reason, we'll talk a little bit about why they work good, then I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to fish them. One of the reasons they work good in the summertime of the year is that if you can find shallow water with got some stain to it, a little bit of stained shallow water, there's always a population of bass in that shallow water to be caught. And these are some of the best ways to catch them because you fish them fast and they create a reaction strike. These baits are not designed to be fished slow or even at a medium retrieve. If you throw it out there and just reel it in like that, you're never going to catch one on it. You have to throw it out there and fish this thing really fast where it almost sort of wakes across the surface. And when you fish it right, you can actually see a wake behind it. So talk a little bit about the areas, and we'll talk about how to fish it. The areas you want to look for, guys, is try to find the most off-colored water that you can find in your lake, with the exception if you have smallmouth, and we'll get into that in a second because there is a clear water application for it. So whatever lake you're fishing, look for the dirtiest water. Ideally, I like to have like 12 inches of visibility or less. 8 to 12 inches is really good in my opinion, because number one, that's going to put those fish shallow to be caught on these things. Now, the way that you want to fish them is just as important as the area. You want to use them, I usually use them on like a 7 foot, some type of a medium heavy action rod. Usually have 15 to 20 pound test Seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon line on it. And I throw it out there, point the rod tip straight at the bait, and point the rod tip, at about a 9 or 10 o'clock angle, and just reel fast like that. Stop and go, real fast like that. And if you do it correctly, this bait is only gonna be like that far underneath the water. And when it's that far underneath the water, you actually have a little wake coming behind it. So in my opinion, if you're fishing it right, you can see the wake behind the lure. Now, if you can't see the wake, that means you're fishing it too deep and you need to raise your rod tip a little bit, because I have found with these subsurface type crankbaits, if you don't throw a wake out and if you get them down too deep, they don't hit them very good. It's almost like you got to hit it. It's almost like they're a topwater lure, because when the bass hit these things, it's just like getting a topwater strike. You will see a swirl underneath your lure because the bait is so shallow that it's just like fishing a topwater lure. That's what makes it so exciting. You'll be burning that thing through there, and all of a sudden there'll just be a big flush behind your bait and they'll have it on there. So keep the speed up, keep it shallow, and keep it where it's waking behind it. It takes a little bit of practice. I mean, once you get it down, you'll know what I'm talking about as far as the speed of retrieve and your rod angle. It's a combination of the two. You get your rod angle right, get your speed of retrieve right, and then you'll get this thing working like I'm talking about. That is the really key thing. As far as colors, guys, I prefer some type of a shad pattern like this, unless the water is extremely dirty, and then I'll use a little bit of chartreuse on it. But the application I want to talk about in the clear water, guys, this is a great smallmouth killer if you have really clear water. So all you guys that are fishing up on the northern tier states and the Great Lakes, Lake Champlain, St. Clair, Mille Lacs, all that type of stuff, you can take these little subsurface crankbaits like this baby griffin, this Megabass baby griffin, or zero griffin, and wake this thing just under the surface in gin clear water And guys, those big smallmouth will come out of 10 to 20 foot of water and completely annihilate this thing. And it's one of the best days I've ever had was up at Lake Champlain on this thing. I had, you know, a bunch of big ones that hit this thing just like a topwater lure, fishing it fast just under the surface in that clear water, especially if you got some wind. Now, if you're fishing the dirty water, you don't really have to have wind, but if you are fishing clear water, it does definitely help to have wind. But guys, give them a try. Just like I said, I'll put the Baitworks link in the description. You guys can sort of surf through there and look for them. I'd suggest the Megabass Zero Griffin, the baby one minus. Storm makes one called a Subward, I think. But they are just great summer lures, and they're super fun to fish. So hope it helps out. We'll see you.